The other day, I showed you this crucifix and explained the significance of its depiction of Christ as a priest. But today I'd like to point out something that we didn't get to the other time. So what I'd like to point out are these four creatures on the four ends of the cross. So here at the top, we have a winged man. Here we have a winged lion. Here we have an eagle. And finally we have an ox or a bull with wings. So today I'm going to explain the significance of those four symbols. The four creatures hearken to a text in the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible. This is what it says in chapter 4. And round the throne of God, on each side of the throne, are four living creatures, full of eyes in front and behind. The first living creature like a lion, the second living creature like an ox, the third living creature with the face of a man, and the fourth living creature like a flying eagle. And the four living creatures, each of them with wings, are full of eyes all round and within, and day and night never cease to sing, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Once you're on the lookout for the four living creatures, they start showing up everywhere. So here I am in the sacristy at Christ the King, and I will give you a quick tour of that. Here we are. I'll show you the four living creatures in a second. Right now I just wanted to show you that here too, we have the upside down anchor. That shows up as well. Okay, our crucifix on the wall, some more stained glass, the clock, our little cabinet with some of our vestments, which stay tuned for more descriptions in a future episode. But the four living creatures are here on the book of the Gospels. So if you can see, we have the lion, the eagle, the ox, and the man. And then here, of course, we have Jesus himself in the center. So there they are, the four living creatures on the book of the Gospels. And they show up here on the base of this chalice as well. So we have the eagle, the ox, the lion, and the man. So as I say, as soon as you're on the lookout for these four creatures, they start showing up everywhere. Now, what do these four creatures represent? To figure that out, we need to go on a little field trip. Okay. Here we go. Kids, do not try this at home. Here we are behind the altar at Christ the King. Oh, this is a beautiful perspective. Okay, but we are up here to take a look at the stained glass window. Wow. And you'll notice our stained glass window has our four living creatures again. There's the man with the wings, and the lion, and the bull, or the ox, and the eagle. And you'll see that each one of the four creatures is above the four evangelists. So on the left, we have St. Matthew, and you can see his name there at the bottom, St. Matthew. Next we have St. Mark, then St. Luke, and St. John. So each of these animals, or each of these creatures, is used to represent one of the four evangelists. So now I'll explain what the link is between each creature and the evangelist. So, St. Matthew's gospel is represented by the winged man because his gospel starts with an account of the genealogy of Jesus. So the genealogy emphasizes Jesus' humanity. the fact that he's really a man. It emphasizes his incarnation, becoming one of us. And so St. Matthew, whose gospel starts that way, is represented by the winged man. St. Mark and his gospel is represented by the lion, which is this image of courage and strength. And it's used for St. Mark because his gospel starts with Jesus going out into the desert, into the region of wild beasts. Then third, we have St. Luke, who's represented by a winged ox or bull. And that's because his gospel starts with an account of Zechariah's service in the temple. And so there's this emphasis on sacrifice and offering to God in the temple at the beginning of St. Luke's gospel. And so the winged bull, or the ox, is something that would be sacrificed, and so he is represented that way. And then St. John, the last gospel writer, is represented by an eagle. So the eagle is a creature of the heavens, right, of the skies. And so St. John's gospel, which begins with kind of the heavenly perspective of who Jesus is represented by the eagle. You remember the Gospel of John begins, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So right from the beginning, John is saying that Jesus is divine. He's God himself. So each of the gospel writers, beginning their gospels in different ways, are highlighting different aspects of who Jesus is. So in our representation of them, we represent them with these different images that call to mind the fact that the four gospels, between them, give us a full picture of who Jesus is by emphasizing various aspects of his person, of his divine nature, his human nature, his mission, and his strength.